Hey there, internet friends. Welcome to That D Plus Show. Class is in session for the only show from that nerdy site that lets you know what kind of quality to expect right from the name. I'm your host, Trevor Starkey, and each week we dive into a different Disney Plus offering and discuss its history, how it holds up today, and our general impressions of the thing. If you like the show, we would love it if you like, subscribe, rate, review, share the podcast with your friends, all that fun stuff. Joining me today, we have Cameron Abbott. How you doing, Cameron?
Hey, what's going on, Trevor?
What is going on? I basically put out the call for like, hey, who can join me? And everybody's like, oh, I didn't get around to watching it. And I was like, well, I don't want to record alone again. So like, if anybody wants to like sit down and watch it, we can record later. and you took the call on that one because today we were talking all about the first episode of Miss Marvel, titled Generation Y, WHY. Why do we pick this? Because it's the new hotness from the from Disney Plus / Marvel / SEO. It was this or Obi-Wan episode 4, and it's like, well, we'll just do Obi-Wan, in a couple weeks when that wraps up, and let's talk about the first episode here of Miss Marvel. Originally released June 8th, 2022. The series is a 6-episode series that will be wrapping up July 13th, so 5 weeks from now. This first episode, and I'm sure much like Obi-Wan, we will do eventually a like full season recap, much like we did with Moon Knight most recently on the MCU side of things. Episode 1 here has a runtime of about 50 minutes. I'll be curious to see how that, falls in line with all the rest. In the MCU timeline of things, we had Hawkeye the end of last year. Then we had Spider-Man No Way Home. We had Moon Knight earlier this year, which culminated and led into Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. Now we have Miss Marvel here, June through July. And by the time this series ends, Cameron, we're going to have Thor Love and Thunder, because that comes out
Hells yeah.
July 8th. Then we have She-Hulk debuting August 17th. That has been announced recently. And Black Panther Wakanda Forever is up next on the film side of things after Thor Love and Thunder, scheduled currently for November 11th, 2022. Very curious how that one, or what they're going to end up, what that one's going to end up looking like, obviously with the passing of Chadwick Boseman. The roll call here, our directors for this episode are the team Adil and Bilal. That is Adil El Arabi and Bilal Falah. They previously worked on films like Black and Bad Boys for Life, which I believe is the highest grossing domestic film of 2020 because of
I think so.
the pandemic. So shout out to them for that. In addition to working on this series, they also are going to be working on the upcoming film Batgirl. So shout out to that. The writer of the series is Bisha K. Ali, who previously has worked on the series 4 Weddings and a Funeral, as well as she was a staff writer for Loki. So no stranger to the MCU Disney Plus-averse. Our cast of characters, I pulled largely like the people who are credited because I don't know who's going to be like a main character for the rest of the series, but who we have in this episode, we have Iman Vellani, of course, as our titular Miss Marvel, Kamala Khan. This is her debut, but she is also slated to be carrying this over into The Marvels when that film comes out next year. We have Matt Lintz playing Bruno. He's a little bit more of a seasoned hand at, whatever young age he is, having been in Pixels, The Alienist, and The Walking Dead. We have Zenobia Shroff here as Muniba, aka Kamala's mother. She was also in The Big Sick as Kumail's mother in that film. So shout out to her, just having that like overbearing, disappointed Pakistani mother character on lock. Mohan Kapoor playing Yusuf, Kamala's father. Long running career in Asia Pacific performances. I don't know if that's Indian or whatnot, but a long career going back a good 20, 30 years, including projects like Happy New Year, Hostages, and Crime Next Door. Didn't see too much on the like Western side of things that looked familiar, but he's a lot of fun in this, so I look forward to seeing more from him. Sagar Shaikh is playing Amir, the brother. Has worked on a handful of assorted projects going back to 2012. None of them really jumped out as of note, and a lot of them were like one-off things in TVs or shorts and stuff like that. Yasmin Fletcher playing Nakia, one of the best friends there, is also in assorted projects going back to 2019, as is Laurel Marsden, who plays Zoe, the like popular girl, going back with a couple projects going back to 2019. Somebody who I wouldn't have like pegged as being, you know, a regular player for this, but he had a spot in the credits, so I pulled him in here. Azhar Usman playing Najaf, who's the halal vendor, who has the crack about halal guys. Yeah. I liked his IMDb. He's described as, quote, America's funniest Muslim by CNN. That was basically like the beginning of his IMDb page. But he's also a stand-up comedian. He's collaborated with comedians like Hannibal Buress, Hassan Minhaj, on their various specials and projects. So shout out to him. Then we have a few little extras thrown in here. Aryan Moyed playing Agent Cleary, who was introduced as that character back in Spider-Man No Way Home. This is the damage control agent in the mid-credits sequence. He's also probably best known to audiences of Succession. Similarly, Alicia Reiner playing Agent Deaver, new to this series, but basically playing his counterpart. She is probably best known for her work on Orange is the New Black over on Netflix. And then a fun little cameo from Ryan Managos, aka Agent M, who is the VP and creative executive of Marvel New Media. So he's basically a lot of the kind of the face / head of PR for a lot of Marvel projects over the years. He is cameoing here as the AvengerCon announcer, leading the costume contest, or the cosplay contest, rather. A little bit of trivia. The names on the Coles Academic High School plaque that we kind of see as Kamala shows up at school include G. Willow Wilson, Stephen Wacker, Adrian Alfona, Jamie McKelvey, Ian Herring, Takeshi Miyazawa, Joe Caramanga, and Nico Leon. All of these names are celebrating writers, artists, and editors who've worked on Miss Marvel comics. In particular, Wilson, Wacker, Alfona, and McKelvey were among the writers, editors, and artists who helped create Kamala Khan back in 2013. So I thought that was a fun little thing. Additionally, the guidance counselor, Mr. Wilson, is named in honor of G. Willow Wilson there. Kamala's YouTube channel, Sloth Baby Productions, as well as the reference to Black Sloth Down, are references to Kamala's comic book love of sloths, as is the stuffed animal that Amir throws at her later in the episode, a big old sloth with wings. Camp Lehigh, of course, our home of AvengerCon, is also where Captain America was trained back in the 40s, or maybe late 30s, I don't remember. It is also where Tony Stark gets the Endgame Tesseract and has a nice little heart-to-heart with his dad. And it is also where Armin Zola was hiding out until he bombed himself, Cap, and Black Widow in Captain America the Winter Soldier. So basically, it has been rebuilt since the events of the Winter Soldier and is now a little convention center, apparently. Also, continuing on the Captain America love, we of course get the little nod to Star Spangled Man with the Plan from Captain America the First Avenger. And yeah, that's just some of the fun little trivia bits from this first episode. Yeah.
You forgot the greatest homage to Captain America.
That's America's ass.
America's ass.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's I was gonna like just segueing into like how is this? What did we think? I love that like so like they have the line there of like so much of what people know is because Scott Lang has been out doing the podcast circuit, which absolutely seems like a Paul Rudd, Scott Lang kind of thing to do. I wonder if he's out there doing what he did with Conan and just trolling people with the Mac and Me clip over and over again.
That'd be amazing.
While he also does the interviews. But yeah, I love that, like, because of that, yeah, you get this idea of like, okay, people know, the battle against Thanos from Endgame from his perspective. And so that's how we get, the little retelling of Captain Marvel's involvement there. And yeah, we get fun little nods like America's ass, Captain America, the little caricature of Captain America with the thick behind. So yes, what did we think, Cameron? What did you think of this? You're fresh off of watching this as we're recording here. I watched it the night it came out, and then I've watched it like once or twice since then in prep for this. So what did you think?
I was enchanted.
Mm-hmm.
Kamala Khan has completely enchanted me. She's such an amazing character. I just think that it was so well done. Everything about this screams like what we got from Peter Parker's like sketchbook opening and closing of the Spider-Man films is done, but throughout this entire thing, and it's done in such amazing detail. I saw somebody say like this show is very Edgar Wright light.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's a lot of like things that you'd expect from like Edgar Wright, like stuff from like I'd say that definitely you feel like the comic bookiness that is like pulled so heavily here
mm-hmm.
as background is like super Scott Pilgrim-y. I totally see why people were saying that.
Yeah, I saw I think Tim Geddes over at Kind of Funny when he referenced it in their like in review kind of recap or screencast recap. He referenced Edgar Light. Yeah.
Yeah, it was but like I thought it went well because Kamala Khan, there's so much about her comic book. I've admittedly not read that much of it, of her. Like I've never like sat down and read the run, right? But what I will say is that like what I've seen from her and like she's awesome. And getting that conveyed here through this, I love Kamala it's like, oh, she's unpopular. It's like, well, yeah, she's weird. Like nobody, like, I love how it's just like, nobody's like, oh, it's cause of this, or it's because of that. It's like, no, it's cause you're a weirdo. Like you stare off into space and ignore people all the time. Like, it's like, I love that. I love that aspect of just like it's not like it's her fault, but it's also like, she's a dreamer. She has her head in the clouds. And I love how the show embraces that as this sense of wonder that she has is definitely something very special to her as her character. I really hope to see how it progresses, but like the moment that she like, oh no, she's like, oh, I lost your gloves. I'll go get them. Cause it's like, I know how important they are to my friend. I'll go get them so I can wear them. And he goes, no, you don't have time. Get on the stage.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, I was so curious about how her powers were going to work. And for it to come from this thing that was sent by her grandmother and the way that she goes into the attic when it's raining and everything, it's like, this feels straight ripped out of an 80s movie of like, grandpa or grandma sent me something. It turns out to be an artifact of incredible power that I picked it up and took it innocuously for my own personal purpose. And then it turns out that it was actually super powered, like super schlocky, comic booky. And I love it. I love that that there is this incredible friendship between Bruno and Kamala. And I love to see that like they have each other's back. And I love how like they put so much effort into her cosplay. And she's like, what are you? He goes, I'm Bruce Banner. It's just him with the lab coat.
He's got a lab coat. Yeah. I love it. Like, I love so many elements of this. Like, I love in her little, like, she's running down the plan and here's how everything's going to go. And in her rundown of the plan, he's like, slick Tony Stark with the goatee kind of thing and got like, a little arc reactor on his chest kind of thing. Has the like Edith glasses from No Way Home.
I 100% saw that. And I was like, when did they get Andy Cortez in this show?
Nice. But yeah, like I love how the series is playing with like her expectations versus the reality of the situation. That's a ton of fun throughout that entire sequence. But then also just like the I also, you know, agree that I think there are a lot of like Edgar Wright isms to this kind of thing. And there was actually like one when I was originally pulling trivia, like one of the things I saw is like somebody listed as an Easter egg was like at one point she's watching Scott Pilgrim, and I was like, I don't think she is. I couldn't find that anywhere. At one point she's watching Felicity, and so maybe they just, but she's doing it like when she like falls back on the couch, so she's seeing it like, and we're seeing it upside down, so maybe they just thought that that was Michael Cera's hair or something like that. I don't know. But because there's also like this weird, like that would be really world breaking if she's watching Scott Pilgrim and then Brie Larson shows up.
Yeah, I was about to say, I was like, that's
that's
pretty wild.
But all regardless, like the thing that I loved, and I loved this, like when they first showed off the trailers, and we got like the fun trailer with all like fully leaning into a lot of like the comic book elements and stuff like that, it is embracing its comic book nature much in the way that Spider-Man and the Spider-Verse did. And one of the reasons that stands out so fun and striking visually is because it leans into figuring out how to really take and translate the comic book elements and put it on screen. And we get that in a lot of very like overt ways, like when they're doing that cool bike ride and they're talking about what kind of flair she's going to put on the costume and how she can turn into, like, she can do like, you know, a Black Panther Captain Marvel, or zombie Captain Marvel, or Doctor Strange Captain Marvel, and we're seeing that all animated on the buildings behind them, and like that's very clearly where our eye is drawn, as they're just kind of like casually riding their bikes or walking down the block and stuff. But then also just in the cool ways that there are like a lot of like very strong angles to scenes that are shot, so that you have, you know, so that it's not just like two people standing like facing another. It's like, oh, they turned the camera like 60-degree angle, so you have like Kamala up here looking down at this angle at Bruno or something like that, in fun and interesting ways. And then you also have that great sequence of like the text message back and forth between them, with the messages showing up in the environment around them, is just so much more comic book interesting way to depict that than we so often see of just like, oh, let's just watch the little bubbles kind of like pop up on the screen as if they were just putting, you know, an iPhone block on or something like that. Just such fun, creative ways to embrace the comic book nature of this character and this medium, and just lean fully into it.
Shout out also. Next up, I have a set list of people I want to get.
Yeah.
Next up, I want to talk about is the parents. The parents are incredible. They're so amazing, and I love her dad. Her dad is the best. First off, his Hulk costume, brilliant. Also, if Kamala had known that
She-Hulk is
Bruno
coming
was
out?
going to, no, that Bruno was going as Bruce Banner.
Yeah.
She still should have brought her dad, because guess what? Her dad could be Hulk, and he's Bruce Banner. There you go.
Yeah.
And also, the relationship between her dad and Bruno is amazing, and I have been that friend before. And also, the Zuzu is phenomenal.
Yeah.
It's brilliant.
Yeah.
I love how they're like, we don't actually have Alexas in these worlds. How do we do that? Oh, he made the Zuzu. There you go.
Oh, I mean, like, they probably do have Alexas or Siris or whatever Tony Stark created before he passed, kind of thing. But like, I love that like this family isn't interested or can't afford it or whatever the case may be. But, you know, tech whiz kid Bruno, who's just like screams, "I'm the guy in the chair," is out there building his own Alexa, you know, knockoff of Zuzu. And I love I love the little, like, so much of this was great just in terms of like inclusivity and seeing, you know, the aspects of this culture, of course, and the fact that, you know, he's embedded in them because his best friend is Kamala. So the fact that he has designed this and knows like, hey, this is designed to understand Urdu, is a lovely little bit. I also love that like when the dad is like, Zuzu, turn on sports channel, it cuts to a cricket game, as opposed to like baseball or football or something like that. So, you know, just a
Love
fun
that.
little extra nod background.
And I have 100% have been that friend because I know exactly Bruno's reaction to, "Oh, I'm good, thanks though.
Yeah.
Okay,
Oh no, here's all of the food I'm giving you. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. It's like, oh, by the way, I put a spicy one on the bottom for Nona, and
Mhm.
like hands it off to him, and it's just like, how did you pack food so fast? Like,
Yeah.
it's like, do not question the mom. All right, the moms who are like this, who take care of like, this is what they do. They take care of people and they give them food because that is taking care of them. First off, they're the best in
Mhm.
the world. I know because I was raised by one. And two, like, yeah, it's like 100% like, oh no, I can't stay for dinner. Okay, I'll send something home with you. Oh no, you don't have to do that. And then like 5 seconds later, out with like a bag of just like stuff piled up.
Yeah.
And I remember growing up, I hated that because I'm like, oh, I have to lug this around now.
Mhm.
But now as like an adult who is like, you know,
On a
like
budget,
on a
free
budget and
food is
stuff,
great.
free food. This is how and this is the truth. This is how I survived my 20s, is that my friends' moms were like this. And they knew I was like on my own. My parents were in the state. And so like all of these moms all stepped up to be like, well, like we're going to like lend a hand and help take care of them. How do they take care of me? By making sure I always had food. They're just the absolute best, man. I like shout out to all my mamas. You know, they know who they are. They are not listening to this podcast.
No, I can't
shout
imagine
out
they
to
would
them.
be. But yeah, like
Yeah,
I
no.
also very much love the parents in this. But like they both have like both of them have like great comedic moments, but then also obviously like the pathos and and the tension and conflict of, you know, like any child and their parents, you know, and the like lack of understanding on certain things, but also obviously I think we see a lot in stories like this of like the culture divide of the parent generation that, you know, was more embedded in the culture of their, you know, their home countries versus the child who's grown up in America and you know has the American culture. It is like it's quite fitting that they cast the same mom from The Big Sick because there's so much of like Kumail's character in that.
Mhm.
Obviously, also, you know, very autobiographical, being you know, an element to that role. And yeah, just like I I'm a sucker for like how as like how universally relatable a lot of those stories are. Even like obviously I'm not Pakistani, but I can still see and remember like very distinct moments. Even the like even the opening bit with the car with the driving test kind of thing where Kamala just backs into the instructor's car and then the parents are immediately being like, this is your fault. This is like our daughter, of course our daughter was wonderful and did everything with flying colors. You are just grading her unfairly. Like I distinctly remember when I took my driving test, I took it and I did like the parallel parking section of
Mhm.
it, the like that component of the driving test, and I was doing it like I had like trained and practiced to do it on like the I think like the right side of the road or whatever, because you know that's where we drive, and the driving test was like, no, you got to parallel park on the left, and I was like, okay, well that's throwing me for a little bit of a loop, but I'll try and do it. And I didn't trust myself that I was like in between the cones, and I ended up hitting like one of the cones. And my parents, my mom in particular, like made enough of a fuss that they let me try it one more time rather than like the normal thing of like go home, come back another day and try and do it. So like the like I technically failed my first driver's test because of that, but I still got my driver's license that day because they acquiesced to my, you know, very complaining mom and let me try it again. And so like immediately when I'm seeing Kamala's parents do that, I'm like that's what's going through my head. Obviously wildly different families, but still like there are just some fun universal elements to the overprotective and over defensive nature of parents, even when, you know, the kid is in the wrong or the kid did mess up or something like that.
Yep. I will say the thing that struck home for me is I had been in a similar situation where uh when her parents surprised her, be like, yeah, you can go to Avengers Con, but your dad has to go with you.
Hmm.
and her freak out at attending something with her dad instead of just her friend. That hit home for me in a way because I will never forget when I once told somebody, an adult in my life, like because you'll embarrass me. Oh, I won't do anything. No, just you being there will embarrass me. The hurt that is reflected in her father, I have seen before in real life, and it is a painful hurt that like echoes to this day. Like it's why whenever I see anybody say that in any movie or any TV show, my heart immediately breaks. And the fact that like he had gotten so excited because he wanted to make sure his daughter could go do this thing.
Mm-hmm.
He and the brother convinced their mom to let her go, and even got her excited about like, oh, she'll go as the Hulk, big Hulk, little Hulk, all this stuff.
I'll put like the mom puts in the time to make that outfit for her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Overnight, like it's so huge, and it's crazy how much that still echoes to this day for me. I was 12 or 13. Like you're at that age where yeah, you do say shitty things like that, but man, it was like that was heartbreaking. Mm-hmm. And when I saw that, and then she just said like, I messed up. Like yeah, I literally had
when she has that realization, that conversation with Bruno of like, I made my dad cry. I like, it wasn't that they were mad, they were hurt. I hurt them. And yeah, that's very much like, I can remember those times where like I said the thing that like in a moment of rage or panic or whatever that like very clearly took the wind out of my parents, and like that feeling of devastation that like, I can't apologize for this enough because I was completely in the wrong here, and it's just going to be time that's going to need to like heal this wound for them.
It's rough, man. I will say shout out also to the brother for being like, he's clearly got his own thing going on.
Mm-hmm.
And I like that. I like that it's that aspect of it. But I will say, so the next thing I want to talk about is we didn't really get enough of the other best friend. So I don't want to really I don't have too many thoughts about her.
Yeah, I will say, like, I love the idea that like, because the little bit of her we get is largely like the one or maybe two scenes of them in the school. But even in the intro, which I caught this kind of on a rewatch or whatever, like when she uploads her video, like she has 2 comments on it and 2 subscribers, and they are Bruno and Nakia, and like they're the ones commenting on her video and being the support. But I love that like Bruno is kind of like making fun of her about like, hey, like I'm out $10 because I bet that you were gonna pass this, and then like when they run into Nakia and like he gives her the $10 and she's like, sorry, like but I hope you pass next time, kind of thing. Like she was the one who bet against her friend. I love that little dynamic in their little friend group. And also
I really
she has my respect for being a hater of Smash Brothers. I can appreciate not wanting to play that game.
I like how it's like, hate the player, don't hate the game. It's like, no, but I hate.
Yeah.
I'm like, I've heard that before from somebody. Who have I heard that same exact phrase from somebody? And it was you.
Probably, yeah. That definitely seems like something I would say.
Next thing I want to talk about is Chloe, right? Chloe's the
Zoe.
Zoe, thank you. Zoe, who is there's something different. This is not like it does not come off as snobby, like whatever girl. Like it's like, oh yeah, no, she's has 100,000 followers. I'm like, yeah, I see that. I see it kind of like snobbiness for sure, but there's also like there's something else like for Kamala there.
Yeah, they say, I mean, they make mention of the fact that like they used to be friends, and her mom would drive them to school. So it's that kind of like dynamic and that friendship of like, she got popular and they've just kind of grown apart in high school probably. So I'll definitely be curious to see how that kind of relationship plays out over the course, especially since, by the end of the episode, Kamala is using her powers to inadvertently cause and also save her from harm, kind of thing.
Yeah, that was my thing too, is I was like, because immediately it was like, she's like, oh my gosh, like your outfit's amazing. Like we should snap a pic. I'll follow you. I promise to follow you back. So like, take a picture with me. And I love it because she's like, she doesn't even like she hates the Avengers. She doesn't even like this. Why is she here?
She did clearly show up. So like she went to this thing. So she likes them in some degree.
No, that's what I'm saying. No, I'm not saying that as a person. I'm saying that's a quote from the show.
Oh, got it. Yeah.
Yeah, sorry about that. No. She is definitely like, it's 100% her pretending she's not into the super popular thing that all of her friends were into, because that's like the nerdy thing, or that's the lame thing. That's what the weirdos are into. But the fact that she goes as Captain Marvel, but she also, first off, I like how Kamala says, that's not even an accurate outfit.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the original Carol Danvers outfit.
Yeah, it's a mix of like, it's a mix of Carol Danvers' Miss Marvel character as well as Carol Danvers as Captain Marvel. It's like the most notably like the domino mask is from her days as Miss Marvel, and then I think like the bottom half of the outfit is like Miss Marvel.
Trevor, nice way of saying she just doesn't have pants on.
Yeah, there's that.
Bare legs. No, I loved it. But her hair particularly, I was like, oh shit, that's classic, like Miss Marvel, Captain Marvel hair. Mm-hmm. That's sick. Like I'm like, it's like, I love how like, that's not even an accurate costume. It's like, that's possibly like Kamala's is definitely like MCU era Miss Marvel or Captain Marvel. Hers is actually like the comic book accurate one.
Yeah.
And I found that scene extremely funny.
Yeah. Speaking of that, I want to give a shout out in Kamala's video at the beginning. She edits together like a bird and then a plane and then Captain Marvel flying in. Yeah. Obviously a reference to Superman, but I also want to personally think it is a reference to the Star Kid production Holy Musical Batman, where anytime Superman comes into the screen, somebody like they do the it's a bird, it's a plane, and then somebody's always like it's Captain Marvel, which is because in that context it's referencing the former name of the Shazam character, but I think it's just also a fun extra gag because like they never think it's Superman. They're always like it's Captain Marvel. So I think shout out to Star Kid and Holy Musical Batman, which is among the best of theirs.
I personally think it's I don't know, Star Kid is like what is the actual like sci-fi original production they did?
Yeah, that was an early one. It might
a Starship Ranger.
Yeah, there you go.
Starship Ranger, yeah.
Yeah.
That is a fantastic thing. They do it with puppets. It's an incredible production. Like that to me, like everyone's like, oh, I love like a Harry Potter musical or whatever. I was like, no. Like Starship Ranger is like,
yeah, it's just Starship.
Yeah, Starship is up there as like one of the best productions I've ever seen in my entire life. Mm-hmm. And I watched it recorded, not live, and it was like those are hard videos to go back and watch because they were not recorded in the best quality.
I have somewhere, yeah, it's over there somewhere. I got to see Twisted live, and I have the DVD of it as well, because I backed them on Kickstarter, whichever one they crowdfunded that one on. So that was cool. So that's like the one that has like a special place in my heart, but probably just because I love their approach to the Batman v Superman story before we got Batman v Superman. Is just also a lot of fun.
It also just has such an amazing like that production. Holy Musical Batman is truly like a true like parody of love and care for Batman. Yeah. And they did the Joker without doing the Joker, which was the best decision they could have made. Yeah,
Jeff Blim as Sweet Tooth is a phenomenal performance from him. It's Batman v Superman before Batman v Superman. It's also the Lego Batman movie before the Lego Batman movie. Yeah. Anyway,
a lot of people were like, "Oh my God."
Enough of our Star Kid love detour. Back to Miss Marvel. Yeah.
But Miss Marvel. I had just such an amazing time with it. I felt like, and also like her powers being like, first off, I was like, I guess they're not doing the Inhumans thing, which is fine, I guess.
They do have a fun little nod or like allusion to it of like when she's like when they're like, hey, yeah, I know you've had like a rough couple of weeks or something like that, and we see kind of like a little montage of stuff. an explosion in the science lab of like blue mist flies into her
Yeah,
face as maybe a potential nod to
true, true.
her Terrigen mist origins.
I think that is particularly for me. I love that they said it is part of her heritage, but we're actually leaning further into the more relevant Pakistani side.
Mm-hmm.
Also, shout out because her mom 1000% knew what that bangle
Yeah,
was.
I'm gonna be very curious to see like how that storyline kind of plays out of like what does her mom know, and what what was she hiding? What's the deal with the grandmother? It was did the grandma because the mom is very much like you come from a generation of dreamers.
Like, yeah, no, she says in the car when Kamal's not paying attention, she
Yeah.
says, like, I blame myself. And I'm like, oh, that's different.
It's in my genetics. Yeah.
Yeah. And I was like, what? And she goes, I come from a long line of daydreamers. Like, they never did like anything. And I was like, wow. Like, first off, way to put yourself down, mom. Like, how about no? You're great. Don't like you are an amazing mom. Do not do this.
Yeah.
It's
so far it's also like it so much of the relationship there is hitting so many of the same beats as like Red most recently, or in Kanto. It is that like the mother daughter dynamic that will potentially like eventually unveil like, oh, that the mother used to be a little bit more free spirited but had that beaten out of her by other forces or
by
generations
tragedy or trauma.
like
Yeah.
So
usually it's tragedy and trauma.
Yeah.
In Kanto, I think it's
in Kanto like, very much tragedy trauma.
I think in that particular, I think it's the idea of it's the matron of a previous generation dealing with the conflict and like the not disparagement, the I can't remember the word, but like the distance and like the gap that a generation can cause in values and beliefs and ideas, to the point where like her mom calls Captain Marvel wearing a skimpy outfit, and I'm like, Captain Marvel's wearing like I guess it's a full bodysuit, but
yeah.
And especially like her recreation with like the jacket and everything, like that's I grew up in a very conservative Christian background. That is a completely modest outfit. No immodesty there whatsoever.
Yeah. Like the thing I like in her defense, it's that it's more skin tight than it probably needs to be or something like that, especially compared to traditional garb or the eventual Miss Marvel outfit we'll get that they've shown off in kind of the promo art and stuff like that.
I'm excited for it. I also love that she did the Mohawk helmet thing. First off, love that it protects her identity. Nobody knows who she is. Because she didn't get to like announce herself. Her powers just kind of like kickstarted.
Yeah.
And I love that she was scared of him for a moment. I love that it felt a little Black Panther-y when she leans back and falls into something, and there's all those other faces there. I'm like, I cannot wait for more of this. I'm so excited. Kamala Khan is an incredible character. I'm so excited to see more from her family, her friends, and I can't wait to really get into this. Like, we got a tease in No Way Home with the Department of Cleanup or whatever it is, like the
damage control.
The damage control. I am excited for a chasing down whoever it is, but also I can't wait to see kind of like the ramifications of Zoe, finding out that it was Kamala.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see like how there's a lot of threads that they can kind of like pull from and a lot of different directions they can take us. It's one of those things that like, as I was watching the episode the first time, I was like, I would be perfectly fine if they don't even get to like her getting her powers in this episode. Like in the back of my head, I'm like knowing that just the structure of these kinds of stories, the episode is going to end with her, discovering her powers or stuff. And then moving on from there, it's going to be like, montage of her learning her powers or whatever we end up seeing in the next episode. But then there's like this element, like, because I just love the family dynamic so much, and just it's Kamala being Kamala. There's like just such a joy and infectious nature to her character and her relationships with Bruno, with their family, with the guidance counselor or whatever, that I look forward to seeing.
Don't call me Mr. Wilson. Mr. Wilson's my father's name. Call me
Call me
What is
Gabe.
it? Gabe.
Gabe is also my
Actually,
father's
it's
name,
also
so
my
it doesn't
father's
really
name, so
work.
that's
But
why
yeah,
it worked. Yeah.
yeah. A lot of
I love that. It's
yeah.
great.
And then yeah, like on top of all the like the cool like just emotional and pathos nature of the show, like the fact that it also has those cool design flourishes and elements is just so much fun. Um I'm trying to think, was there another thing I wanted to shout out, highlight. um I'm going to be very curious how they continue to reinterpret the powers. 'Cause obviously that's, one of the big talking points leading into this. And admittedly, my only prior experience with Miss Marvel is the Avengers game, which is also a great Miss Marvel story. But it is very much like her, the fantastic and beginning kind of like power set. So the fact that we're leaning into this, like seemingly related to her Pakistani heritage, with like this weird cosmic crystal vibe to it. I'm very curious to
I'm
see
digging it.
how that's going to play out. I mean, like visually, it looks incredibly cool, and I think especially now that light spoilers, we've seen the stretchy powers in cinematic
Mhm.
form or something like that. I like that they're not leaning into that, because I think it would always look weird and fake, especially on like a
Mhm.
TV budget level. Um
Exactly.
so like I like that they've gone with this other more stylized element. But yeah, I'll be very curious to see how it plays out, and how they kind of like justify its existence. They make they make a little allusion to or mention of like a djinn out there, like Zuzu being cursed or something like that. I'll be curious to see, yeah, just how they kind of explain, like, is this armlet, or the bangle, does it have the same kind of, is it from the same kind of place as the 10 rings that Shang-Chi got?
Maybe.
Is there this weird cosmic element to these artifacts that are being found, around Earth, or is it just going to be completely isolated and distinct? But yeah, I'll be curious to see how that all plays out. Any other bits or moments or anything else you want to give some love to, give a shout out to?
There's I think the last thing I want to talk about is, well, actually let me pipe in about what I thought about the powers. I thought they looked amazing. I love that it's like light fracture, like fractals.
Mhm.
Fra- fra-
Fractals.
Fractals. Thank you. Thank you. I like that it's like light fractals. That it's not like a like prismic or a like a ray or like a wave or anything. It's something solid that she's producing out of light.
Mhm.
And I like the way that it looks like cosmic space diamonds.
Yeah.
It's cool. I really like the effect. At first I was jarred by it by a little bit, but then when I saw her make the hand with it,
Mhm.
I was like, I'm very in. Making the long stretchy hand with catching Zoe and doing that immediately. I was like, okay, I didn't get it at first. I get it now, and it's cool.
Mhm.
It's really, really cool because that has a lot of cool potential to it. The fact that she can throw it, we got a little bit of tidbit of everything it can do. She can keep it solid, she can throw it and like it'll detach. She can just like keep it long and like move it around because she like backhands the Ant-Man head
Mhm.
while it's connected to her, and I loved it. I just thought it was so really, really smart
She can create like
on.
little stepping stones in the sky
Mm-hmm.
with it.
It's really genius. I'm really into it. I can't wait to see more of it. And that's not something I expected to say about her power set.
Yeah, I'll be curious
Yeah, yeah.
if it is inherently locked to the bangle, or if now that she has like put on the bangle, she like this power has been imbued upon her, and if she doesn't have the bangle, she'll still have the power. I'm very curious to see
Or
if how that plays
or
out.
or if the bangle now acts as a control because it's drawing out the power inside of it.
Also,
I think that
a solid, interesting theory.
because eventually the bangle's gonna break, and it's gonna be like, but I can't use it without the bangle. But it's like the power's been inside of you all along, which is a classic trope that I would love to see here, especially if it's her mother encouraging her to do it.
Yeah, that'd be a great moment. Yeah.
Did I just call the show? Did I just call the climactic moment of the show that's going to make people cry, including myself, even though I called it?
We'll see.
Probably.
Also, yeah, shout out to Zoe just taking the full force of Mjolnir there.
Oh gosh, yeah.
That was like that was such just a I was not expecting this scene to go that direction. Like,
nope.
Like I was expecting Kamala to like push her out of the way or get her out of the way or whatever, and she's like move, and then like just bam! I was like, oh no!
When it hit her, I expected it to hit her. I didn't realize that it had hit her, and she grabbed onto it out of like fear.
Yeah, right. Like you expect her to just hit. Like when that thing swings up, you expect her to fall, but no, like it swings back down, and she is still hanging on to it. Yeah, for dear life. Yeah, it was just such a like, this, like they could have taken this one direction, and then they were like, it'll be more fun if we just take it the complete opposite way. And they were right.
They do that a lot in this. I loved it because we expected him to, especially with Bruno, cracks me up so much because it's like I totally expected him to do the Tony Stark thing, like you said in her daydream, and it turns out no, just dude in a lab coat. Like it's like, it's so brilliant. I love it. I love that he's the techie guy. I love that he's the tech whiz. But one of my favorite things of all time is they go into like a corner shop, and he just picks up an airbrush and starts airbrushing. And I'm like, what corner shop is this that he can just like do that?
I mean, like, yeah, there's definitely that element of like, okay, yeah, like they're just doing this in a bodega or whatever. But then realizing,
do you live in this bodega? Do you live here? And it's like, yeah, he lives there.
That's like later on, like he clearly lives like right above it. So presumably it's like his family's shop or something like that, and he was just working down there in the open air space or whatever. Yeah, I'm sure that'll be like a little bit more
bodega feel.
Clarified.
That's such a bodega feel. Like, oh, what's that? What's Bruno? Bruno's doing he's doing the airbrushing down here.
Yeah.
What, you expect him to do the airbrush upstairs?
Yeah,
Ma, come on, Ma.
That's also just the vibe of Jersey City is a lot of fun.
So good. Jersey City. I love how she goes, you think my bike will be back there? He goes, in Jersey City?
In Jersey City? No, I think there's a 0.0001 chance, 1% chance. Yeah.
Great. Like just his hair. I'm like, I've never been to Jersey City, but if you're telling me, hey, Cam, that's exactly what Jersey City's like, I love it.
I mean, I like going between, because we see her obviously coming out of her house in the suburbs somewhere. She, jumps, falls out of the tree. And then, but then also Bruno living in this, seemingly in the middle of a street bodega or whatever. Like, I was definitely like, okay, geographically, I'm very confused, like how far away they are from each other. Because he's clearly like, meet me on the roof in 10 minutes or whatever. So, like, it's clearly not a significant distance, but it definitely felt like, he's like in a busy part of town area, and then she was out in the burbs with isolated. Everybody has like their own house, and a tract of land kind of thing.
It's a little, I don't know. I think it's a little different than that because I think that's what you'd expect if you were out here after they legally implemented like the grid system, but Jersey City's existed since before the like required grid that everything has to be built on. And so like I wouldn't be surprised if like her because Jersey City, like you see the skyline of Jersey City. It's like, yeah, there's some big buildings near the coast. But
yeah, it was more just like geographically, like I got the vibe of the bodega being like in a Washington Heights-esque kind of part of town or something like that. And then suddenly we're in, just a little neighborhood where it's not, everybody packed in the brickstones or whatever. It is like, oh nope, there's a nice little 3-bedroom house and with a bitty yard, and then there's another, and then there's another. So yeah, maybe like you turn the camera and no, there's the bodega, maybe, but like they just didn't like set that up for me, I guess.
I don't know. Like I've seen a lot of stuff that's filmed in New York, and like older parts of New York, like parts of Queens are like that. like areas that were like really built out to kind of like be the quote unquote suburb of the bigger cities like that are like that a lot from what I've seen in movies and television stuff.
Okay.
But also like it reminds me of the way my mom describes living on Long Island. Like, yeah, you have like streets like basically it's like you have like a main street or like a main road where like businesses are, and then all the off streets off of that are like houses and stuff.
Okay.
So it's like less like because once again we're talking about like places once they built zoning laws.
Yeah, well, it is to like what you were saying. Like it felt much more like a Scottsdale or a Phoenix kind of situation versus what I think of when I think of New York, New Jersey, of like everything's that much more close together and everything's that much more condensed because they don't have room to build out like Arizona does or Phoenix does. They build up.
But that's kind of like the point of Jersey is that Jersey does have that.
Okay. Right.
That's why people move out of New York to live in Jersey when they have money and they can and they buy a lot of land.
Fair. Yeah.
And that's also why my mother has always told me and raised me to tell you and everybody else that Jersey is where New York dumps its trash. So when those people leave, they're trash leaving the city.
Gotcha.
From my mother, who is from Long Island.
Mm-hmm. Any last bits that you want to give some love to or give a shout out to, Cam?
Yeah, one last thing I want to say is shout out to the gloves he makes her. And kind of like this, like, oh, is it like meet cute or is it not? It's like, I don't know. I don't really get like she has a lot of romantic vibes for just about anybody. I don't really see Bruno being like, I'm like gonna be your guy friend who's in love with you, but he doesn't say it. I didn't pick up on that vibe as much. There was that moment where he's like looking at her and then he makes a decision like, no, let's like, hey, let's change things up a bit here. Like, I'm like, I really hope they don't force that because I would just really enjoy just having a good, positive, like guy being just a good friend and not like some dude who's like, I've seen way too much stuff lately of like the dude who's like pining for the girl, but she's like never interested in him. So he's her friend instead. Like, I'm tired of that shit in shows.
I mean, that's definitely fair. I think that is also like just another universal kind of like vibe of like, especially at that time of like, you know, friends who are clearly drawn to each other and they're like really compatible and have like a great friendship. And then, you know, maybe somebody develops the feels or something like that. And they like try and just figure out, how are we going to navigate this? Do I want to try and pursue something like that? I don't know what what vibes they're putting out. So I'm going to hold off. And then, you know, eventually it like, you know, either nothing happens, which is what like 90% of real life is like, or, you know, it culminates in some kind of like big epic, like kiss. And then they have that like, you know, panic moment of like, oh no, did we just change our friendship forever? Who knows? Like
I could go without. I would just really like to have a positive, like boy-girl friendship. That's just a boy-girl friendship.
Just a platonic thing. Yeah, that's
like,
fair.
I think we just need some good old-fashioned platonic friendship without somebody having to develop feelings for another person because that's the drama of these shows and stuff. And I get why they do it in the shows and stuff, but I really like Bruno and I don't want it to be like, ugh, Bruno, get over her. She's not into you.
I don't think... whatever I don't think that's the show they're gonna make.
I hope not.
Like
I don't feel that. But I hope.
Even if Bruno like, you know, is interested in her or something like that, I don't think this show is going to be about, you know, them. Will they? Won't they? With them? I don't think it's going to be him pining or whatever. Especially, although I will say like the other added wrinkle to that dynamic is the family, you know, relationship, the scene that we get with Kamala out there running errands with her mom and the back and forth that they have about this girl who, you know, broke off the engagement to go off to Europe or whatever. Like they like Bruno because they see Bruno as a friend, but if Bruno did become like a relationship or a romantic partner for Kamala, how does that change for Kamala's parents in seeing, you know, him as a white kid with their Pakistani daughter? I think there's an interesting dynamic that could be explored there.
I think we are fair to assume the fact that A, his name is Bruno, B, he's white, C, he lives in Jersey City. We can assume pretty strongly He's an Italian Catholic.
Fair. Sure. Anyway.
Tell me I'm wrong.
No, that is perfectly fair. And I admittedly do not know enough about the characters', origins in the comics to speak one way or the other. But yeah.
No, neither do I, but I can hear it, I can see it, I can smell it. The boy's a Italian Catholic boy. I mean, can see it.
I will specifically say, it is very weird, the over-reliance on the name Bruno in Disney projects recently. Obviously, Encanto being the most, egregious one, but even before Encanto, we had Silencio Bruno in Luca, and now we have yet another Bruno.
Hey, dude, the name Bruno's making its way back, and I respect it. Bruno of the Elite Four. Let's go.
There you go. Sure.
The coolest looking dude with the weakest fucking lineup.
Yeah, I mean, you take one psychic to that guy, and boom, they're all done. All right, then let us go ahead and dive into the report card, where we grade the show from A+ to F. What grade do you want to give Miss Marvel here, Cam?
A+, easy A+. I loved it. It was such a fun time. It was fun. It was jovial. It had so many great moments of heights of emotional drama with the family, and fun adventure with the friend versus, and also on top of that, this really cool mystery angle, and what's gonna happen now? She got busted, and it's like, are you gonna be what we raised you, or are you gonna be some cosmic superhero? And she lies in her bed and looks at her hand glowing and goes, cosmic. And I'm like, hell's yes, let's go, Kamala.
Yeah,
let's fucking go.
Easy A+ for me as well. I think Iman Vellani is such a delightful little charming Kamala Khan here. I look forward to a long, fun future from her in the MCU, be it in this project as well as others. Especially just the nature of that character. I'm so excited for when she gets to start meeting other Avengers and stuff like that. Presumably by the end of this series, you're probably going to have a Brie Larson cameo or something like that to help set up Miss Marvel.
So.
And just the bit of fangirling that she's going to do. I don't know if you've seen the clip making the rounds, but she's apparently a huge Robert Downey Jr. fan and is terrified that she couldn't ever meet him because she would explode. And
that's a joy. So that's joyful.
Just, yeah, it's such a wonderful version of this character getting to see on the big screen. Again, lots of great representation in there, completely outside of the realm of the superhero nature of this story. It's just an interesting the MCUification of a story like The Big Sick. I think there's a lot of fun to be had there, and yeah, I'm excited. I love this first episode because it sets up this really cool style that they're going to be playing with. There's also great soundtrack, I think, to the episode as well. Admittedly that's not something I often tune in on, but the music of this was a lot of it's fun and great. Cool, and especially the end credits bit thing is very true to the culture kind of thing. So
it's a mix. It's a great mix of the an MCU theme with Pakistani instruments and cultural references. It's really, really great. I really love it.
Yeah. And I like that this first episode does a lot of the legwork of introducing a lot of elements, but I don't know where we're going from here. And I have I've not scoured over every trailer on this one. I've watched the trailers a few times and was I'm in, let's go. But yeah, I don't know who her big bad is going to be, or if she's going to even have a big bad, or if it's going to just be her developing and coming to terms with her powers, and maybe having to kind of hide from damage control or something like that. It'll be curious to see how this all plays out as she continues to have to navigate being a high schooler and now getting these crazy superpowers. So yeah, shout out to Miss Marvel. Extra credit, other suggestions. If you like this one, you have a fan's guide to Miss Marvel, which is basically a little 4 to 5 minute, just little short that they did to kind of introduce, here's who Miss Marvel is in the comics kind of thing. So you can find that on Disney+. There's also Moon Knight, Hawkeye, The Eternals, Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings, What If, Black Widow, and Loki. Extracurriculars. You watching anything else on D Plus? You catch up? Are you caught up with Obi-Wan? Or are you an episode behind it?
Nope, I'm still an episode behind. I have not had time to watch it.
All right. I have. It's doing that thing that like so many of these series do. That's always like a little disappointing. Of like they like knowing that the thing is only 6 episodes long and realizing, okay, we're 4 episodes through. A, I don't want it to be done so soon, and B, I don't know how they're going to tie everything up in just 2 more episodes. So yeah, I'll be curious to see where Obi-Wan Kenobi goes from here, but we will check back in on that in a couple weeks' time once the series wraps up. So yeah, that's going to do it for this week's episode of That D Plus Show. Thank you, Cam, for joining me last minute to talk Miss Marvel. It was definitely a more fun episode here with you as opposed to if it had just been me talking to the camera for a half hour. You follow Cameron at Rev Cabot. Anything you want to give a shout out to there, Cam?
No, I do. I want to give a massive shout out. There will be a new episode of Friday Night Dying Light because I'm about to go edit it right after we're done with this.
Excellent.
Yeah,
Good to hear.
So, yep. Like, listen, man, I just started a new job, and it has, like, we haven't talked about it on any podcast, but it has been a very crazy week for me.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm very excited just, like, to sit down, get that edited, get that over to Trevor, and then just, like, enjoy the rest of, like, I have one more day at work this week, and then after that, I'm just going to, like, just chill.
It's going to be a weekend. Do you have any plans of trying to see Jurassic, whatever the Jurassic World one is?
God, no, I haven't seen a Jurassic Park movie in like 20 years.
Cool. Because I also didn't have any plans, so I'm glad to hear that you weren't like waiting for me to ping you and be like, "Hey, do you want to go see Jurassic World at Majestic?"
Nope, I'm too broke to go to Majestic right now.
Cool.
I haven't gotten paid for my new job yet.
Fair enough. You follow me at Trevor J. Starkey. In addition to Friday Night Dying Light, I will give a shout out to this week. Cam and I did a predictions episode of That News You Care About. We did predictions for Summer Game Fest, which happened earlier today as we're recording this, as well as a few predictions for the upcoming Xbox Bethesda showcase this weekend. So far, of our 3 predictions apiece, I got one of them right with the Marvel Sun.
Midnight Suns,
whatever. Marvel Midnight Suns trailer and release date announcement. And Cam was goose eggs for no Elden Ring, no Forspoken, and what was your third one? No
Greedfall.
No Greedfall 2.
Greedfall 2. I will say it's fucking bullshit because I saw a trailer for the Summer Game Fest and it had fucking Forspoken in it. Fuck you, Jeff Keighley.
Well, Jeff Keighley does that, where he hypes up moments from all trailers from everything. Yeah,
I didn't recognize I didn't recognize shit. The only thing I recognized was a game that doesn't need a remake.
Fair enough.
It literally just got remastered less than a year ago. Holy shit, we do not need more.
Wait, what are you talking about?
The Last of Us Part 1.
That got
or maybe it was 2. Whatever. When did PS5 come out? That's when it got remastered.
No, Last of Us got remastered at the launch of PS4.
Still close enough to not need
I mean, remake. Yeah, I will see that, yeah, the game's 10 years old. It doesn't necessarily need a remake treatment. A
remake, not a remaster, not an updated remaster, a remake. They remade the goddamn game.
It does look real pretty though. With PS5, graphic when they did the comparison. You already hate the game anyway, so like
I don't hate the game. I actually really enjoyed The Last of Us Part 1. I think that it's actually a really great game.
Oh, okay.
I think that it's like I've
that's right. You hate Uncharted. That's right.
I hate Uncharted. I saw that I hate Uncharted. I just don't like Uncharted games.
Yeah.
I don't like Tomb Raider games either. It's just the genre, man. I just don't care for it. And it's fine. I'm glad people enjoy these things. It's just for all the resources and without a doubt the crunch time that's going into this game, it's just so unnecessary.
I will definitely say that is fair. That was like the big.
Also, I got a goose egg on my predictions.
Yeah, I will say like the thing I was more surprised by was like and maybe it originally wasn't there, but then they were like, well, we don't want to give credence to this, so we're going to not show the trailer for Kojima's new game, or maybe the rumors of it being an Xbox thing are true, and it's going to show up in the Xbox conference. Who knows? Maybe I predicted. Maybe my prediction for the Kojima game being announced and confirmed was just for the wrong conference.
You underestimated the power of Uncle.
There you go. Yeah, who knows? But yeah. All right. So yeah, go check that episode out, or just follow along on Twitter as I continue to tally our results. And so far I'm up 1-0, so hopefully that means Portillo's is in my future. But yes, go
good
check
chance.
that out.
I think my Xbox predictions were worse than my game.
Yeah. Well, we also had one of my predictions was Jurassic World themed Forza expansion pass, and it seems that it seems like it is imminent because it leaked on the Steam storefront, but it seems like it's going to be Hot Wheels themed expansion pass instead of Jurassic World. So I'll get like a half point for that one, maybe. But yeah,
maybe.
Yeah, we'll see. Cool. Well, that is going to do it. You can follow all of us over at That Nerdy Site. You can follow all the latest from us over there, or go to thatnerdysite.com. Once again, if you liked what you heard, please like, rate, review, subscribe, share the podcast with your friends, all that fun stuff. Thank you for joining us. As always, stay nerdy, be good to each other, and class dismissed.